Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, listen, you got to get me out of a jam. Ann Pasternak, who is another extremely creative doyenne of Manhattan, turned 50 today. So she runs another creative company called Creative Time, and I'm in trouble because I was not feeling well last night. Maybe I was nervous about today, I don't know. But we need to sing her happy birthday, so real quick. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anne. Happy birthday to you and many more. I'm still in trouble, but that'll help. Okay, so get the show rolling. My name is Stephen Powers. When I was a little kid of 16 years old, I painted graffiti. Most graffiti writers at that time, this is 1984, they'd start as 11-year-olds. I was starting at 16 when all my peers were thinking about college. I was thinking about climbing rooftops like this one. Where's my clicker? There it is. Thank you. Okay, so this was taken by my lovely wife in 1989. This is a rooftop at 60th and Market in West Philadelphia. And I am in the middle of spray painting something that says, "My right to speak is my right to burn." I was going to paint an American flag burning, but the owner of the property he objected to that. So I painted Uncle Sam being burned at the stake, and that was okay. So even then, I was trying to balance my creative needs with the needs of a community that I was working with. This was painted legally, but most of the rooftops that I painted in West Philly were painted illegally. But towards the end of my creative tenure as a graffiti writer, I started getting really interested in creating logos and turning my name into a logo. And I started making graffiti that looked like signage and advertising. And I got kind of obsessed with the idea of Espo, which didn't mean anything except for the meaning I put into it, becoming a brand and creating a brand that, such as this, would be a logo, and I would repeat the logo, and I'd paint the logo. This is painted at 9th Avenue and 40th Street. It is still there. I was prosecuted for this. I pled guilty, and the city has left it there for 15 years now. So Probably now that I mention it, they'll take care of that oversight. But this has become, settled into its neighborhood and it's settled into the community, and it's become now what is known as a ghost sign, which is ironic because I was trying to emulate a ghost sign. It is advertising my product, which is flavor. It's fresh, and it's, I like the fact that it was something that was intangible. It was an intangible good that I was offering for sale, which fit in nicely with my next phase of creation as I was crossing over into painting signs that were actually signs, that were actually not graffiti, but emulated some of the aspects. Instead of painting graffiti that emulated signs, I started painting signs that emulated graffiti. In this case, the product is Handmade Myth, created with my own hands. That's me with shorter hair, with a light bulb that I'm either pulling out of my jacket or I'm putting into my jacket in an act of creative theft. To prevent other creative theft from happening to me, I've put a beeper tag clipped on the side of my name so it can't be stolen without setting off the alarm. Clever. So more signs, and then that morphed into a lovely thing that happened called Street Market, which was originally a show at the ICA in Philadelphia and then moved on to Deitch Projects in New York City, in downtown Manhattan, and then eventually here at the Venice Biennale in the Cordery, a beautiful 500-year-old building where they made rope. And the building is long. The greatest gift that I could give to the other visiting artists that came, we were there a month ahead of time. Nobody gets a month to set up the Venice Biennale, but we did. Robert Gober was there this year. How's he doing? I think he's got a show this year. And the greatest gift we had was we were able to pass out toilet paper to people because there was no toilet paper in the building. So we made a lot of great friends that year. And, you know, after this really momentous occasion, being at the peak of the art world, you know, I still didn't know really how to make paintings, and I really didn't know how to make signs. So I went to a place on earth where that didn't matter, and it was Coney Island, where we set up a sign shop, painting signs and making paintings that look like signs. This is a really awesome, poor snapshot of the little shop that we were in. It's right on Surf Avenue. It's now part of the Coney Island Museum. This double-decker fan is a piece of genius made by Matt Wright, and its sole purpose, besides ventilation, is it blocks the door so people can't get in. Very effective. So we painted signs in Coney Island. You know, we offered our skills, which weren't that much, and we kept our prices low, which was a great combination. This was 10 signs that we painted for Lambro's corner sausage stand, I guess. And we got $500 for these. There was like so much talent working on these signs. Greg LaMarche, myself, Joe Stack, I think that's Matt Wright working on it. And when we were done, we got the $500, we split it like 10 ways, I guess, and we all went home. And then the next day, the owner of the building said, "Oh, you guys gave me such a great deal. I had to get these 3 cheap vinyl applique on vinyl signs. They were $500. I said, "Feel free to tip us," and he laughed. This was actually the first sign we painted. This was on the El Dorado, and Scott, who owned the El Dorado, rest in peace. Scott was like a real, you know, small Danny DeVito guy, smoked cools. He was really tough guy. And he was really into Paradise Garage disco music. And he had a really beautiful sound system, which is still there. And we painted this, and the first time we painted it, he thought the red was wrong, so we had to paint it again. This was free, by the way. We painted it again. He's like, I guess it's okay, I don't know. And then he had me go around to the front of the building and paint some signs for the front of the building. And first I painted this, and he's like, okay, that's all right. But then I had to paint this sign, and we had a lot of argument back and forth about what this guy should look like. And he's like, I want it to look like the West Village meets the South Bronx. I was like, all right. Is there anybody that you can point to that represents this? And sure enough, he pointed to a guy that was standing in front of us that he looked like this. I saw this guy just this year in Coney Island, and he, you know, remember, he's like, yeah, you painted me, and he looks exactly the same. And this is an interesting thing because this is the logo or the slogan that's above the El Dorado bumper cars. And the sad thing about currently in New York is they had to take down the speaker that broadcasted every day. It said, bump, bump, bump your ass off. You ride, you drive. The lights are flashing, the cars are crashing. Get on in for a spin. And this would play like 16 hours a day, but finally they made them turn it off, and it's really sad. There should be a civil rights suit to get that speaker back on. But the first time they put up this sign, like, cops stopped them and made them take it down, or they're threatening to take it down, until a very wise sergeant came over and said, you got better things to do, and chased them off. So this is still there. This is now 15, it's 11 years old. And I'm really proud of it. Thank you. But this led into, I got to paint the cyclone, crossing over to this. And what was great about this, or sad about this, was after I painted it, the city that owned the property told them that they could only paint the cyclone in traditional cyclone livery, whatever that means. So they had to repaint over this, and life went on. And life went on in another island called Dublin. That's not an island. Ireland's the island. Is anybody from Ireland here? Yes. Welcome. Dublin, I won a Fulbright scholarship to go to Dublin and paint. Ostensibly, I was going to paint a love story. And my idea was simple. I was going to create these two characters that were trying to communicate with each other with signs. I guess signs that looked like graffiti that were communicating these messages of love. And the first day I got there, went to the Liberties, you know the Liberties neighborhood? I went to the Liberties neighborhood in Dublin, and there was some beautiful graffiti written with a correction pen on a wall that said, "John, all is forgiven, please come home, the door is unlocked," and a phone number. I said, okay, that's it for me. I'm out of ideas. This is already better than anything I'm going to do anyway, so. But luckily, I had a fallback plan. I had a beautiful wife and a brand new 6-month-old boy at home that I could tell stories about and paint graffiti for them. And so I did. This in particular really sums it up. It says, "Baby is crying, the rent's all spent, the card got towed, I lost the remote, there's no hot water, the fridge is empty, but I ordered food, please come home." And you know, that's a very New York, I've ordered food and I forgot that I don't have any money. Can you please get home? This true story is called Baby's Mother's Day, and it's still there. I think they built condos in front of this, it being like the rest of the world. But we're going to go back and touch that up one of these days. One of these days. This is a little cut off, but it says, "You can look down on me as long as you look at me." The 24-hour manned security in operation was not in operation that day. Lonely for you only, you know. Is there any cuter couple than the cigarette and the lighter? They're a little destructive, but you know. And these two, pigeons, as you know, mate for life. As long as they find somebody they're cool with. So the work in Dublin led to us winning a Pew Foundation Grant from the Pew Center for Arts and Heritage in Philadelphia. And I went home to beautiful West Philadelphia, where I was born and raised. And yes, on the playground I spent most of my days. And the first thing I painted, again based on my beautiful domestic life, was this wall filled with refrigerator magnets that said, "If you were here, I'd be home now." And you know, amazing thing happened when I painted this. We did 10 months of meetings, you know, community meetings and talking to people and getting a sense of what they loved about their neighborhood. And I had this design in my back pocket the whole time, and regardless of what anybody said, I was going to paint this. So I painted this, and the owner, it's on a barber shop, and the owner of the barber shop came out and he said, "That's really great. Is that a jail thing?" Which it's not, but hey, why not, you know? And people were generally confused by it, but it was a great opportunity to explain to people, well, you know, all we need is each other. And if you're here, then we have home, you know? And in West Philadelphia, there's not a lot of that, but there's a great desire for that. And, you know, it took on a life of its own, and it grows to this day. Hold Tight is a landmark. People hang out the Hold Tight wall. Don't ask me what they do, I don't know. Your Ever After is all I'm after. The gentleman whose roof this was said, "We put a hole in his roof." And I said, "There's no way I put a hole in your roof." I said, "If I put a hole in your roof, I will pass money through the hole in your roof to pay you back." Then, you know, Philly, you know, West Philadelphia, there's a lot of, you know, people moving in and out, and we were at a real transitional point in time where the neighborhood was crossing over, and from the elevated line had been shut down for 10 years, and they had just reopened it. So, you know, we were dealing with a really amazing set of buildings that were, you know, in a lot of various stages of repair. And we were able to do this. This is probably as aggressive as it got. It says, "Knocked on your door, my leg's tired, my back's sore, migraine for sure. No more, I swore, you smile, I'm cured." And the owner of the building is renovating. He came in and out. He had absolutely no comment for us. But a lady that lived on the block said, I don't like this. This is Farson Street. This looks like something that belongs on 52nd Street. 52nd Street was 2 blocks away. We got called up to Syracuse, and Syracuse is the opportunity for us. We're all reformed graffiti writers that are painting these walls, and the opportunity for us to paint a CSX train bridge was, really a real high point for us. So we lovingly primed and painted this in a way that, I don't think it's ever been done. And this is now about 5 years old and looks brand new. And what we found in talking to people in Syracuse is they're really proud of the 4 seasons. So we spoke to that. And then we talked to some paramedics. Well, we talked to a lot of people, and we asked them what they loved about Syracuse, and they said nothing. And we asked them what they hated about Syracuse, and they said everything. And we talked to some paramedics that worked in the community, and they said, the best days we have is when we have nothing to do. So that inspired this, which is nothing to do is everything with you. And it's for everybody, and it speaks to everybody. And that's really our job, is we go and we have conversations, and we translate that into visual communication. Like, I paid the light bill to see your face. The light bulb on the left was there. It was for a car dealership. And then we added the right, the new, what do they call those light bulbs? CFL, thank you. We added the new CFL light bulb just to keep it relevant. And then moving on to Brooklyn, which Tina talked about. This says, turn to me and I see eternity. And then facing Tina's house, it says, euphoria is you for me. And we took a different tack. In Philly and in Syracuse, we talked to hundreds of people. In Brooklyn, we only talked to one, a gentleman named Dave Villarante, who provided us with all the content we painted on this building, more or less. For him, downtown Brooklyn was a place where every train would go. It would be his entry into the world and back home again. And so at the top of the building, it says, you take any train, you meet me downtown for a few, and we'll let streets carry us home. And we just wrapped the building as much as we could with as much text as we could, 253 words in all. And, it was one of those things that was jarring, and, for most people, they loved it. Most people didn't even ignore it. I mean, most people didn't even see it at first. But the few people that hated it, the guy across the street said, I really hate it, but I appreciate it that it's well done. So, but it's grown in stature, and I think people really, they've adopted it as their own, which is all we ask for is, all we can hope for is people take ownership of the work we do. And so it happened in South Africa. This says Mama over and over again. It's 13 stories tall, and it was terrifying, but beautiful. And then we moved on to Japan, where when we painted Now is Forever, what we tapped into, we didn't realize in painting it was just only a few years after the tsunami hit, and people had really settled into this moment of staying at home, staying close to their family, and cherishing every moment. So in an unexpected way, people took this to mean that today is today, and today could last forever. Today may be all we have, which is really, devastating. And then, a lot of what I do besides the sloganeering is I try to get my own artwork in the mix as much as possible. When I paint and make paintings and make drawings, it fills a page. It's a lot of things going on at once, like my own mind. Occasionally, I'll get spray paint and going back to my roots. It's black spray paint on a wall, and it's really just trying to express thoughts as they occur. We're here because we are. And that's one of those delicious rice triangles. What do they call those? Those nori triangles? Oh, so good. So every day I'm on the train. I was on the train today. I have a paper in my pocket. I fill it up with all types of drawing. Looks like this. And then the drawings become bigger, more, 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 and then they turn into paintings, and more paintings. This technically counts as showing work at the MoMA, so you'll have to excuse me. I make these paintings at the shop in Brooklyn. Come see us. And they're all rooted in those paintings that we made in Coney Island. You know, this is all the techniques that we learned in Coney Island, painting fast. These are all tombstones that I'm thinking about, possibly. Flawless Victory would be a good tombstone. We'll see. You know, and if you look in the lower right corner, if you build a house that was a milk carton and a pack of cigarettes, that man would never have an excuse to leave. Just a thought. And so the paintings, you know, they're full of jokes, they're full of thoughts, lots of thoughts. Hold that thought. And, you know, they are who I am, you know, and they're based in graffiti, and they're based in sign painting, and they cross over back and forth and back. And, you know, when you get to no, just keep going. You'll get to yes eventually. You know, it's down the road a little bit. And I want the flu to stay free. The flu should never be caught. Does that even make sense? There I am wearing the shoes I'm wearing today. I'm going back in the soup. Oh, Tongue Biting, Strategies and Techniques. It's a really good book. I've never read it. Now, some of the paintings that we did in Philadelphia, we painted a wall in Philadelphia as part of the Love Letter project that got trashed. The building owner wanted us to take it down. So we chopped it up and we started painting on it. And again, it's layered, it's graffiti, it turns, oh, there's my wife, say hi. And it turns into something else. It turns into this sculptural, loving mess, which is what this is. You know, all I do is adore, all day long, so. Oh, and somewhere there's a place for us. But I'm going to wrap this up with a really quick story about Baltimore. I'm headed back down there as soon as I get out of here. And Baltimore has been, in some ways, the most challenging city of the 13 cities that we've painted so far. And, you know, for a lot of reasons. There's a lot going on in Baltimore. It's got a lot of good and a lot of bad. And the challenge really, you know, in a lot of places like Philly and Brooklyn, I could push it a little bit and really get creative. But in Baltimore, there was a sincere responsibility to represent people's voices that, you know, really weighed heavy on me. And I talked to a neighborhood leader who said, what I want you to paint for me is that what was Baltimore will be again. And at the time that he gave me these words, we set up a shop at Paca and Saratoga Streets in downtown in downtown Baltimore. And a kid got shot, like in front of the shop. A bullet went through our freshly painted window. And suddenly it was about him too. And Brandon Finney was just trying to get home and got caught up in some gang crossfire. And it was terrible. And I don't mean to exploit his tragedy or you know, make light of it, but it was there, and it was like our responsibility to do something with it. So for him and for Eric Booker and for Baltimore, we painted this, which is what is and what can be. And I leave that with you, and it's what is your task going forward. Thank you.